And we begin. That easy? It's a new intro. It's a new opening for us. It's the second time I've seen it, so I'm not used to it yet. Welcome, everybody. I'm Tom Tynan. This is Home Show Radio. Ask Tom Live. I am the guy that does Home Show Radio every Saturday from 9 to noon and Sunday from 8 to 11 on Sports Radio 610. If you're in the Houston area, just tune in on the dial, 610 on the AM dial. And, of course, you can always go to homeshowradio.com where we have a website where we're doing this for Facebook and YouTube. And we have a lot of other videos, a lot of good information, and it's all free. Everything we do doesn't cost you a penny. You don't have to register unless you want. There's some emails and stuff I think Charlie can tell us about in a minute. And you can do stuff like that on the website, but it is free. No credit cards will be taken. And as far as before me on Saturday, I want to get the day right, 7 to 9, is Danny Milliken. He is the garden with the Garden Pros. He is the garden expert that can answer all your questions with all his brain trust of different nurseries around the city of Houston. And let me tell you, there's a lot. And there's a lot of nursery stuff going on right now because we're still reeling from the freeze of 2021. And that was in February. And I know, you know why I know? Because I was at a nursery last weekend still planting my yard. So I'm knee deep in it. And he gave me a tip last week. Or last month, Charlie. Last month.
What's that?
Humate Plus for my oak tree.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember if I was writing it down. Last weekend I got some, spread it around. Oh no, we'll see what happens. That's all I did was spread it around. It was like manure.
Well, it's the time of year you need to be putting down your brown Microlife now. So it's that time of year.
Or in
so
your case,
patch.
Microsoft, or is it Apple?
Microlife. No, I
Microlife.
Apple. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm partial to Granny Smith myself, but
There you go.
but most
Me
of the
too.
times I'm using a Macintosh. So there it is. All right. And what we're doing here today with you is we're answering questions that you send us at homeshowradio.com under the Ask Tom tab, and because we're live, you can put the questions right there in the bottom. We'd love to hear from you and answer your questions here today. That's the whole idea of Ask Tom Live. The name kind of explains it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the thing is we have too many names. We've got Daily Mail, which I think isn't there another Daily Mail out there in the world too, a political thing or something?
No.
And then
they
we have
stole it from us.
Oh, yeah, okay. Ask Tom Live. There used to be Home Improvement Hotline. Now it's Home Show Radio. So
Right.
I can go on and on. Let's not forget the Right Angle that I used to produce many years
yeah.
ago as a magazine or a newsletter/magazine.
I was
I've
wondering
done a
about my
bunch of stuff.
subscription to that, Tom. What?
Yeah, well, 15 years ago, people quit reading. What can I do?
That's it. Yeah, that's why.
Blame the school system. We won't get political. Blame the school system.
Funny coincidence. That's when we started doing videos.
That's right.
that's
we got
exactly
into
why we do
videos
it.
because people didn't want to read anymore.
That's exactly
I like to
right.
read still, but a lot of people, and even, I know, Charlie, you read, but don't you read on your Kindle and stuff? I can't even do that. I have
Actually,
to hold a book.
It's funny you say that. I don't want to take too much time because people didn't come.
No.
This is not Ask Tom Reading Hour. It's the Home
Yeah,
Improvement
no, it's
Show.
not. That's
but
true.
I will just say this about that. A friend of mine recently gave me a couple books in pulp version, and I forgot how nice it is to sit and hold a book and turn the page. And I'm like, it's been
do
the
it
most
all the
wonderful
time.
thing because I normally
Yes.
read them on this bad boy right here. So
Exactly. That hurts my eyes. I got to have a book. But anyway, this is not Book Hour with Tom
no,
and
it's not.
Charlie.
It's not. All right. It's where we answer your questions, the one you send
That's
us
right.
here. And we're going to get right into it. I've got one here. We got a couple that have come in already, by the way. And thanks to Sammy
Great.
and Rick
Hello,
and
everybody.
David and Larry and Sharon and all y'all for being here today. Appreciate you being with us. And we'll get to your questions in just a second. But there's a method to our madness. Our first question today comes from Sumitra in Westchester, Pennsylvania, Tom. She says the house that... The house where I've purchased has a 2002 HVAC, and it's running fine. Should I get a home warranty? And if yes, will the company replace the HVAC with a deductible? What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, everybody's going to have a different written warranty. And warranties are written not to protect you, but to protect the company you're buying it from. Just always remember that. Who writes the warranty? It's probably a crackerjack legal team, maybe, that writes a warranty so the company can stay in business to make money, who backs up what little bit they back up. I would never recommend you buying a warranty. I think it would be a waste of your time, especially in this situation. Now, I don't know if there's many replacements with deductibles. That sounds more like a homeowner's insurance deal, which most of us have if we own a home, that we have a deductible on our homeowner's insurance. But with warranties, it probably doesn't usually work that way. I've never seen one like that. I see a lot of promises. I see very little results. I would tell you that keep your air conditioning system running. It's running fine. Always be prepared with any home. And we talked about this actually last week, that there is a certain amount of money that homes are going to take to maintain them. Hold on to your money. Have a little bank account, just like if you lost your job, you have your own little bank account there. In this case, look to having a new air conditioner put in probably in the next 5 to 6 years. You might be able to do maybe an evaporator coil first, then a condensing coil. You don't have to just put out $35,000 for a whole system, but just maintain the one you have. Stay away from the home warranties. And I don't know of a warranty system, just like on a car, that's going to warranty your piece of equipment on its very last dying day. You can't buy it and then the next day it goes out and then all of a sudden you're covered. That's pretty rare. That's not what they're in the business to do.
Right. And that's part of the challenge. In fact, it's what today we want to talk about, our topic of what's news, boys and girls. We're going around the world and up your block with home improvement news that you can use. And this must be the season for home warranties, Tom, because it seems these days people are trying to find a way to save a penny, but they wind up spending $1. And it's the reason why these things sometimes feel like a scam. We're going to talk about it because I got this letter in the mail this week. Which is, I know it's a little hard to read especially if you're watching on your phone, but it says that, but bottom line, it says, I love the second paragraph. It says, based on your purchase date of my home, you may have a home warranty policy that could expire soon. You may qualify for coverage for up to 3 years. This is like one of these scammy things. And then I found out that my neighbor got a similar letter from another company. My in-laws got, it just feels like it's the season. It's the end of summer and it must be when these people hit. So let's talk about how to spot a scam real quick. And then we'll continue on with more of your questions here in just a minute. The first thing you have to watch for on these things is unclear terms. You know, they say, for instance, in many of these warranties, they say that you have to, that if your system is improperly maintained, they aren't covered, or that your refrigerator replacement has a cap. And so those kind of things, when you don't really get to the details of the terms, it could be a scam. And if there are unexpected costs, like for instance, many of these people will charge a service fee on every call, or when they do a replacement, then there's a service fee before they do the replacement. Explain that one to me. And then the third thing to watch for is ones that make it difficult to cancel. Who hasn't signed up for something online that's impossible to get out of? And a lot of these people make it very difficult for you to get out. They require a 30-day written notice, which is reasonable, but they make it difficult for you to actually get the notice to them. And then claim denials is another big one. They decide whether or not your appliance or repair is covered, and they don't have that fancy office because they're paying out a lot of claims. And then finally, the fifth thing to watch is repair delays. And we work with I actually have a client who does service for warranty companies, and it is the number one complaint because there are so many of these coming in that they can't get to them fast enough. And so if you think it's going to be some sort of quick and easy thing to help you, it's not. Now here's 5 ways you can avoid the scams. I'll go through this real quick. Number one is do some reputation research. And by that, you should be looking to see, as we do with the Home Show Pro, how long have they been in business? What do their reviews look like? You know, worst case scenario, go look at the BBB. But you want to see what kind of complaints there are about these people online. That's the other thing you can do. And you can just say no to high pressure. When they start pressuring you, forget about it. You know, it's like there's always another option for you to go to. So say no to those people well. And then read the terms and conditions. And by that we mean read the terms and conditions. Because if you read them, by the time you get to the end of them, you're going to realize that it's probably not the deal you thought it was. Because many people get these things because they think it's going to save them $1, or they're going to actually scam these guys and get a new furnace out of it, and it's not going to work out. And finally, one of the things consumer experts recommend is get an inspection of your house before you get a warranty, so you know the condition of your stuff and maybe you know what to take care of proactively. And if you do that, do you really need a warranty? Now, if you have been scammed, if you're feeling like you've been scammed by one of these things, report it. And in Texas and in many states, you go to the Department of Insurance, Texas Department of Insurance, and in Texas, you go to the Attorney General's office and their Consumer Protection Division. And that's what you do if you feel like you're getting scammed with a home warranty. And that is our in the news.
I like it. And just to keep it simple, people don't assume anything. Oh, it covers all the piping in the house. Yeah, but yeah. It doesn't cover it. It doesn't cover the joints. Well, I just assumed it was all the piping. No, it only covers joints. That's why they'll say.
Exactly right.
I mean, it doesn't cover joints. That's where your problem is. And number two, if you read it and still don't understand it, what good is it?
Exactly right.
We have a certified home show pro, Due West Foundation Repair. They have a warranty. When you read it, it's understandable. It says we do this, this, and this. Period. And I used to say it's so simple. And then the third thing, I know guys in the business, and I'll ask them, why are you doing these warranty jobs? He goes, Tom, it's a way for us to get a little cash flow, and we find a way to build our clientele because we know they won't stay with them. They're going to need us, and we somehow can sell them us through that call we get from them, and then we can tell them to bag the other people. So that's behind the scenes. And if you know that's going on, why even play that game? Just stay away from it.
The problem with this, and this is what we've discovered with our client who handles these, is you may make some quick money as a in the trade doing it, but you pay for it in bad reviews because
that's right. You
everybody
make some real enemies at the same time.
Every time because I'm Joe homeowner and I have a home warranty and I call the home warranty company. I think they're going to come and fix it. Well, you come and fix it, and then I find out I've got to pay something for you to do it. What kind of review am I going to write about you? And that's the problem with these warranty companies. It's a bad deal all around.
And they'll also upsell you while they're there. They'll try to upsell you outside of the warranty, and a lot of people will bite it. So be careful. Yeah.
It's called lead flipping in the business.
There you go.
They're trying to flip the lead.
That.
So, all right. So we got a question here. David, thank you. David wrote this in when we first got started. David, I'm sorry we had to get through all that before we get to you, but we're going to answer your question right now. He says, hey, Tom, David, why does the electrical code still allow backstab receptacles? I pigtailed all of mine. And also he wants to know, why does the code allow 15 amp rated receptacles on a 20 amp circuit?
Don't ask me why the code does anything, but yes, let me just go into this. Pigtail are the snap-in wires that go in. You just push in the pin wire things. They're really not a very good idea. But because of someone wanting to sell this product, and this is how codes happen. Now there's some new stuff coming in like whole house surge protectors or the arc fault protectors that they started putting in. When a company can market their stuff and get it put into the code, it's a guaranteed sale. There's a lot of industry money that goes into this because there's a lot of money to be made. That's why they still allow it. If they disallowed it, they could put a big chunk of business out of the way where he couldn't use it, and then that would hurt because somebody already tried to get in. So wasn't a great explanation, but the bottom line is there's a lot of money behind the scenes, and people want to get in the code, so that's why you're seeing that. The 15 amp on the 20 amp circuit, I don't even know if that is code, but if it is, I don't think it's a good idea. It should be 20 on 20. Why they do it though is the question. It all has to do with sales and money, and that's the way a lot of code books have been written, and I'm sorry to say it, but it's true.
We're getting some questions in about gardening, and I just want to let y'all know that we have Danny on with us to handle those the last Thursday of the month, and he comes in, but we simulcast this also on the Garden Pros, and Danny tells me that when he does his show on Wednesday and they simulcast it on the home show page, that he gets a lot of home improvement questions. So I'm going to tell you what he tells them is, you want to catch Danny on Saturday. If you've never caught the Garden Pros, you can catch him every Saturday, 7 to 9 on Sports Radio 610. We're here to help you with home improvements, though, and we will continue doing that right now. Here's one from Douglas in Pinehurst. He says, while listening to your show many times in the past, I recall you saying the best strategy for selling a home is to make sure it's clean, but not undertake any expensive repairs. Just clean it and sell it as is. I think you still stand by that. Is that still go for these days, Tom, in the market we're in?
Actually, it goes for it more that we're in it
Yeah.
now because prices are so inflated and inventory is so low that I don't want you to put anything in. It's probably best to clean it just for your own reputation. I wouldn't leave the dog poop all over the floor and stuff when they come look at it, but things are selling fast and people are going in and remodeling like crazy. And so, yeah, it's always been the way I look at homes. And I'm a buyer right now, which is bad, but we're looking. We haven't committed to anything. And I'm also a seller on the other end of my dad's property. He passed away a year ago, so I'm moving his properties now. And it's as is all the way. Now, one thing you say on your question is undertake any repairs. If they're real necessary repairs, then you have to do it. If you've got a roof that's leaking like a sieve, you got to fix the roof to sell the house. But what I'm saying is don't remodel, don't put in new countertops, new floor covering, things like that. That's where you're never going to see your money back. Clean, and if you maintain a home, everything should be a good enough standard to where you can sell it without having something like a roof that's been leaking for 5 years that you ignored. Although you can still try it. There's still the ugly house people out there, and they're buying them because they'll put a roof on.
All right, James in Southwest Houston, Tom, wants to know that I do not want to tear out my walls, but I would like to replace my galvanized pipe in the attic with PEX. Can I connect PEX pipe to galvanized pipe, or do I have to go to the extra cost and replace the whole shebang?
Well, I'm not sure why you're replacing it, but if you're replacing it because it's either got pinhole leaks in it, or it's so corroded that your water pressure is down, the rust is horrible, then you have two options. Replace it all, or go ahead and have it renewed with an E-pipe system. In many communities in Houston, we have TDT. They'll go in and they'll renew all the pipes, but at least you get a 100% job. And I want you to get a 100% job. Now, if you were just going to patch some areas, can you connect PEX in some areas where you're just wanting it to work for now, and like after a freeze or something, and a few months or a year down the road, you're going to repipe your house? Then yeah, you can do that. There are connections to do that. But as far as getting the whole house done right, it's going to need 100%. If you're replacing a section because the pipe is so old and corroded, that means everything needs to be done anyway. And I'd really look into the renewal system, the E-pipe system, or a lot of people call it Ace Duraflow. That's a system that works great with galvanized, that you don't have to replace any of it, but you renew 100% of it, and that's really good.
And the company we recommend for that here in Houston is TDT. And actually in Houston and Austin and Dallas, they go pretty much anywhere in the major Texas cities.
And if you're in other parts of the country, just Google Ace Duraflow.
Right.
There are dealers all over, and it's worth a conversation before you commit. But if you're going to repipe a home and you say you're not going to do that system, then they're going to have to cut some holes and make some patches, and you're going to redo the whole system. But again, if it's just a small section you want to redo, and that's what this question might be about, and that's all he cares about right now, there are connections that make it work, even with PVC or the PEX.
Well, and if you're looking for those pros that Tom recommends, of course, you go to homeshowradio.com. We have them cleverly concealed here. We'll scroll up and you'll see down on the homepage. Down there we have all the Home Show pros listed right there, and you can find them. And if you're not sure which one, you can go in here and search by category if you're not sure which company it is that does the voodoo that you need done around your house, and we can help you out with that. So anyway, and of course, every one of the Home Show pros has been checked by Tom and met his stringent standards. So
I do know him well.
Yeah,
Yes.
and well, somebody asked me the other day, he said, how long have these people been with you? And I was thinking, well, let's see. Due West has been with us almost 35 years. Ideal Roofing, 35 years. Abacus from the day they started. I mean, it's like most
About
of these
17
people.
and a half now.
Yeah,
But before
20
that, the people from Abacus
Right.
were with a different company, and a guy started that company, and you can add another 8 or so years on top of that. So the people I've known a long time.
Yeah, good thing that there's a savvy sales rep that went and found those guys. Alan.
Yes,
yeah,
there
but
was.
Alan O'Neill. The first time I met Alan O'Neill from Abacus, he was working with Jim Wilburn at Gerald Plumbing.
Gerald Plumbing, that's right.
Right, which is a totally different company now. We don't recommend them. But
I don't even know if they're still in existence.
yeah, they got 1 or 2 trucks running around. But the
Do they?
the name surfaced after they sold out. But because
Well, yeah.
what happened was Gerald Plumbing years ago. Not to go on a tangent here, but ARS came in and rolled up a bunch of
right.
people, and they rolled up their company into it. And as soon as they had the opportunity to come back to the market, Abacus Plumbing was born, and the rest is history. But
yeah, but remember this now. All of America changed then. These companies were coming in and buying all the small guys.
Yes.
There was a company here in Houston called Crown that was one of the biggest guys, and that was the biggest thing that they did. We bought them, and then combined a whole bunch of others like Gerald and everything into it. And it was a failure for the people, for the clients. When it came to service work, they went out and they did commercial, industrial. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, but they kept trying to do too much, and so it was a mess. So a lot of the smaller companies, and that's why here at Home Show Radio, I recommend the local smaller companies that are family owned or owned by individuals, been in the business a long time. It's very rare unless we get into something like Hardy Siding that's so good for everybody. It's a major worldwide company.
But even with Hardy, what we recommend are family-owned local installers.
That's true, the installers,
who put the product
yeah.
in, because that's really what makes the difference. And those guys have been with us for a long time too. So anyway, Home Show Radio,
pest control companies and everything else.
Everything.
Try to go local. Try to go with the guys down who you'll get the better service end of it that way.
Right, and you're supporting people here in our community. Speaking of our community, thanks to Larry and Darla and Penny and David, Larry, Tim is watching with us. Hi, Tim. Good to see you. Jeff and Mary and Sammy and Rick and a whole bunch of y'all. Thank y'all for being here with us.
Santa's list. I'm watching Sarah and Billy. Who used to do that? Was it Soupy Sales or something? I see Billy and Bobby.
We only have the nice list here, the naughty list. They listen to the other show. So anyway, okay, one more question here. We got another one for you, Tom. Comes from Andrew in Tomball. He says, I was wondering if it makes sense to install solar powered systems here in Tomball. He says, my average energy bill is about $200 to $250, and my house is partially shaded, which may be half the answer to this question. What are your thoughts on solar these days? It seems to be much more popular.
Well, it's popular because of the political aspects of it, and solar works for a lot of different things, but if it was working in individual homes, everybody would be doing it. I had this conversation with my son who just bought his first home, and he's right out in the middle of the sun. He's my oldest boy. And somebody was trying to sell him a solar system for his brand new house that he just bought. It's an older home, but it's new to him. And we looked at the numbers and said, Jimmy, it doesn't make any sense. Even with the financing and everything, a lot of people don't realize solar panels go bad after maybe 10 years or so they have to be replaced. The batteries constantly go bad and have to be replaced. And if you take a 25-year loan out, which they were showing him, and looking at a 25-year payback, none of it makes any sense. Now, solar is fantastic. They have wind farms, solar farms. You have Air Force bases and stuff and military bases that are doing this. You have school systems that are putting it all on the roofs of the building. Now, you got to have sun. If you're in shade, it doesn't do you any good. So just remember that one. But it has a lot to do with how the azimuth and altitude reaches those solar panels. You have to have a really good, clear view. And it's not heat, it's light. So you have to have that really strong light. It just doesn't pay on an individual basis. If there was one thing, and I'll leave it at this, if the world would do throughout the south of the United States and wanted to really cut the energy bills like 25% across the board on homes, everybody would put in a very inexpensive, easily maintained solar water heater. And your water heater your hot water costs would be cut dramatically, almost down to maybe 20% of what they are now. And if you took that as an environmental savings across the board, the savings would be huge. And if you want to get into carbon footprint and all that, I'm not going to get into all that. But it would be the best way people could do it on an individual basis. And everybody has ignored that.
Mm-hmm. Well put, well said. It's true. The biggest problem with those solar water heaters, I understand, is trying to cool the water down enough you can use it.
It's too hot. Yeah, you have to have the cold water to knock it down because it gets up to 200 degrees.
Yeah, that sun's hot.
And you can put it doesn't even go on your roof, just a little bit on your little thing on your backyard. Mm-hmm. I used to have a class in Miami-Dade Community College, and it was the environmental center, and we would build weekend solar water heaters that would run through your regular water heater system. And we would have classes for adults. This is back in the mid 80s when I got out of college. And it was fun and people had a great time with it. And the whole system cost about $129 in materials.
Wow. Well, I just know this: the sun's hot, and that's why they call it the sun.
Well, it is hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyway, well, cool. Well, that's what we got. We got.
Is that it? We got our 30 minutes.
I think we're close enough. Close enough for home improvement.
Okay.
It's like close enough. All right. So before we go, there are a couple things. Number one, we want to mention that if you haven't got it on your calendar already, and you're in the north side of Houston. You want to remember Tom is going to be up there at the Montgomery County Home and Garden Show,
right.
Whatever they call it. Tony Woods changes the name of this thing every time, so I don't know what it's called this time, but it's a home and garden show, okay? And it's going to be at the Lone Star Convention Center on the 28th and the 29th. Tom will be there on the 28th doing his show, answering questions. Danny from our Home Show Garden Pros, this guy, will be there on both days answering your questions and doing stuff. But if you want to ask Tom face-to-face, he'll be there till 3 after his show on Saturday, answering your questions right there at the convention center. So come see him the 28th. We'll talk more about it next week. We're going to have Tony on the week before, the Thursday before, to talk about all the stuff that he's lined up, because it's not just booths. He always has lots of things in there to help you and make it a good deal. And we'll put a link up on homeshowradio.com where you can get a discount ticket. And of course, parking is free. Like that's an issue in Conroe. But anyway, the show is coming up
forward to it.
on the 28th.
It's the last one of the year, so then they're trying to bring him back. We'll see what happens.
And it's time for those shows to come back. You're not kidding. All right. So, by the way, if you want to get your questions to us, you can do it by visiting homeshowradio.com. Click right there on that blue Ask Tom button, and it'll take you down to the, let me click, and it'll take you to this page here. And then you can pick whether you want to send it in writing or send a video. We love getting either way. You can also attach pictures, and that helps us as well. Plus, if you want to find some of our Home Show pros, you can find them anytime your heart desires right here at homeshowradio.com. And they're right there, and there's a whole page full of them. And if you don't know who, but you know what, we got you covered there. You can fill that out and send it in, and we'll do it. And that is what we got. But before we go, Tom, I've got one more thing before we go, is the... from the Darwin and Action Department, I found this little video of this guy here working on his tree. First of all, I don't think OSHA wants you to be that high up on a ladder, but this isn't from America anyway. This is Europe somewhere. But he's up there, and if you look carefully in this video, you'll see there's some power lines or something going right by there. And he goes up and he says, I can't quite start my chainsaw. So hang on, he's going to come, he's going to reach down with it in a minute to start his chainsaw because he can't get the pull enough there with the cables. So he's going to start. And the thing about these jobs, they always have a buddy. And there's his buddy. And he's cutting down the tree above him. Now, if you understand Newton's law, you know what's about to happen. There you go.
And that's what I call camouflage. You won't see him anywhere.
There it is. All right. But you will see us. We will be back again. Tom will be on the radio this weekend with you.
I will. Saturday from 9 to 11. I had to think about it. And
9
Sunday,
to noon.
9 to noon and Sunday 8 to 11. We used to have the same hour both days. That's when it all went crazy on me. But yeah, just tune in and go and visit homeshowradio.com if you can't listen to Sports Radio 610, and you can they can stream it there or whatever, right, Charlie? From
They
our
can.
website?
They can. And of course, you can get our podcasts and all that at homeshowradio.com. And we'll see you next Thursday right here, over most of the same Facebook page, with Ask Tom Live at 4 o'clock Central Time next Thursday.
Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio. Home Show Radio. Free advice from a pro who knows. Home Show Radio. Home Show